So, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I want to welcome all of you today. As they say, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. A single step in the right direction can produce great results. And that's why we are here today to witness such crucial event, taking the right step for uplifting public health in Sri Lanka. A complete and accurate, timely civil registration system provides quality vital statistics for informed public policy and planning purposes. And that's why it is important to pinpoint legislative gaps and opportunities for strengthening the civil registration and vital statistic systems. Ladies and gentlemen, we are honored to have you all with us today for the launching of the publication Legal Review of Civil Registration and Vital Statistic Systems of Sri Lanka. This is a joint venture by the Ministry of Justice, Department of Census and Statistics, the Registrar General's Department, and the Ministry of Health taking the lead. To commence the proceedings tonight, please rise for the national anthem.
Shiva
So to start us off, on an auspicious note and keeping up with the tradition, I would like to invite our distinguished guest for the lighting of the ordinary. Let me invite the following dignitaries to kindly join us. Honorable Minister of Health, Dr. K.L. Ramagopal, our chief guest tonight. Additional Secretary, Public Health Services, Ministry of Health, Dr. Lakshmi Somasungar. The Registrar General, Mr. W. M. Veerasekar. Director General of Department of Census and Statistics, Mr. Anupam Kumar. Solicitor General, Mrs. Indika Devini De Silva. Deputy Director General Planning, Ministry of Health, Dr. S. Sridharan. Chairman, National Authority of Tobacco and Alcohol, Dr. Samadhi Rajapaksa. Chief Judicial Medical Officer, Colombo, Dr. Ajit Tenton. Lead in legal analysis and drafting, Mr. Iraj De Silva. Ladies and gentlemen, the Admiral General, Honorable Sanjay Rajaratnam, is on his way, and now it is with great pleasure I cordially invite the Additional Secretary of Public Services of the Ministry of Health, Dr. Lakshmi Somasungar, to deliver the welcome address. Ladies and gentlemen, we have the Attorney General, Honorable Sanjay Rajaratnam, with with us in our presence. I'd like to invite him to the stage to take his seat. And ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Lakshmi Somasundaram.
I Minister of Health of Democratic Socialist Republic of Sri Lanka, Honorable Engineer Honorable Attorney General Mr. Sanjay Ratnam, Registrar General Mr. David M.M.B. Veerasekara, Director General of Census and Statistics Mr. Anup Kumar, Chairman Lanka Dr. Samadhi Radhakrishnan. We have representatives from ADC Department, Solicitor General Mrs. Indika Devamudi Silva, Deputy Director General Planning Dr. Sridharan, Chief JMO Dr. Ajit Tengamon, Mr. Eraj Silva, the lead in legal analysis and drafting of the book to be launched today, and all other distinguished invitees from our ministry, Ministry of Justice, Registrar General's Department, and Department of Census and Statistics, and most importantly, those who join online today. Mr. Martin Bradship, Technical Director CRVS from Vital Studies, Lead Feroza from Global Health Advocacy Incubator, and Mrs. John Sarah Thomas from Data Portal Initiative. Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. This evening, I have a very pleasant task of welcoming all of you to this very important event, launching of legal review of CRVS system in Sri Lanka, with many suggestions to improve our system, which will have a positive impact on health, nation's health. Vital statistics are statistics on principal events in the life of an individual. By maintaining up-to-date records of all these events, is connected to health service in terms of effectiveness and efficiency, and can be particularly beneficial for measuring and achieving universal health coverage. It is much connected to sustainable development goals, a much spoken SDG. The healthcare sector has a very important role to play in achieving the sustainable development goals. In other words, CRVS is also connected to more than 1/3 of the SDG indicators. Out of 120 indicators, 45 indicators require data from CRVS system, which further emphasize the importance of CRVS. Ladies and gentlemen, the purpose of this legal review is to review the existing legal framework in relation to CRVS in Sri Lanka and to provide discussion points and recommendations so that the legal framework can be improved and be more suited towards bringing about a more vibrant and effective CRVS system, which will ultimately benefit policymakers and the country as a whole. This is an excellent example of collaboration and coordinated action of many sectors. It was a pleasure to work with all of the stakeholders and to launch this book today by our Honorable Minister of Health in the presence of all of you dignitaries. Let me once again welcome all of you to this important event. Be carefully selected invitees in restricted number and adhering to COVID-19 precautions. Thank you and stay safe.
Thank you very much, Madam. Next, we have Ms. Joan Thomas joining us virtually, and she is Technical Advisor, Public Control Finance, CRVS Improvement and Vital Statistics.
Thank you very much. I will just share my screen. Good evening, everyone. Honorable Minister of Health, Dr. Somatunga, and all the honorable guests and dignitaries present today, Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak. It is a real pleasure to be here and to join this very important event virtually, given the circumstances of the day. I recognize several of you in the room, but I have not had the pleasure to meet all of you, and so let me introduce myself. My name is Joan Sarah Thomas, and I'm the technical advisor with Vital Strategies, a partner organization of the Data for Health Initiative, and the primary Data for Health lead for CRVS work in Sri Lanka. I wanted to take a few moments just to share with you a little bit about the initiative and also about our important partnership with the Sri Lankan government that has led us to where we are today. Just briefly on the initiative. The Data for Health initiative started in 2015 and is funded by Bloomberg Philanthropies and the Department for Foreign Affairs and Trade, Australia. The purpose of the initiative, put simply, is to support governments to improve public health with better data. And today we have 4 arms of the initiative. We work on strengthening systems to collect birth and death data. We conduct efficient surveys to monitor risk factors for early death. We focus on providing capacity to governments to use public health data to inform public priorities and policies. And then we also work on strengthening cancer registries. The Data for Health initiative is firmly placed on 3 main operating principles. First of all, country leadership and ownership for us is paramount. Secondly, capacity development is critical, but we must ensure that we build local capabilities first and foremost. And third, sustainability institutionalization is critical if we are going to pursue long-term transformation in the work that we do. Today, the Data for Health initiative has 7 partners. Global Health Advocacy Incubator, or GHAI, is our lead partner for the CRVS legal and regulatory reform activity. And my colleague Lynn is here also virtually to share with you a little bit later about the process that we work together with in partnership with stakeholders in Sri Lanka. The Data for Health activity focuses now on 21 countries around the world. And then we also have a number of smaller CRVS initiatives in other countries as well, pushing us closer to 30 to 32 countries. So Vital Strategies, where I work, is one of the main implementing partners of the Data for Health initiative. And broadly, we offer technical assistance in these 6 areas of CRVS system strengthening. And the legal and regulatory review and reform focuses on, it falls within the CRVS governance and coordination bucket, which is a really important area of CRVS work. I wanted to end this brief set of remarks with this slide just to remind all of us that CRVS system strengthening and transformation doesn't happen overnight, but rather it requires strong leadership and consistent leadership. The partnership that we have enjoyed in Sri Lanka with the Ministry of Health has evolved over the 6 years and is really evident that we've got very strong leadership at the highest level with Dr. Somatunga. Today, Sri Lanka has completed a milestone, the comprehensive legal and regulatory review of the Sri Lankan CRVS system. And the report documenting this is being launched today. We believe it will pave the way for more fruitful discussions about the desired next steps that the Sri Lankan government would like to take to ensure its CRVS system is built upon and aligned on practice in a sound legal and regulatory framework. With that, I would like to sincerely thank all the stakeholders for your support and input into this effort, with particular gratitude to Raj De Silva and team, and a special thanks to Dr. Somatunga for her leadership, and to Rangana and Maya for their support. I wish you all a very successful and enjoyable launch. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Rangana, would you like me to start screen sharing now?
Yes, please.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. And thank you to the Honorable Minister of Health and Dr. Simritunga for inviting me here today. It's wonderful to join you, even if only virtually, to have the opportunity to briefly introduce the CRVS legal review process, which Mr. Araj de Silva and his legal team have been able to successfully complete with the strong support of the Ministry of Health, the Registrar General's Department, and the Department of Census. Please allow me to briefly introduce myself. I'm Lynn Sferrazza, a legal consultant for the Global Health Advocacy Incubator. GHAI is an NGO based in Washington, D.C., that supports governments and civil society organizations with implementing policies that reduce death and disease. Recognizing that accurate and complete vital statistics is essential to reducing death and disease, GHAI became a partner of the Data for Health initiative. Its role within the initiative is to support country stakeholders in conducting a review of their civil registration and vital statistics laws to help ensure that these laws support a strong CRVS system. To date, as part of the initiative, GHAI has conducted legal reviews in over 20 countries in Latin America, Asia, and the Pacific. The aim of the CRVS legal review is to help stakeholders achieve a strong CRVS system with complete, timely, and accurate registration, supported by a CRVS legal framework that aligns with international best practices. So the four objectives that guide a CRVS legal review include identifying gaps and obstacles in the CRVS framework that may prevent the timely and universal notification of registration of births, deaths, fetal deaths, and other vital events. To identify where the CRVS legal framework does and does not align with international best practices. To clarify the roles and responsibilities of all the stakeholders involved in CRVS, and to strengthen the legal underpinning of this collaboration, and to draft a report with recommendations for stakeholder consideration for ways in which the CRVS legal framework could be strengthened to better reflect best practices and achieve complete legal review is conducted using the GHAI Legal and Regulatory Review Toolkit. This was created by GHAI together with partners in the Data for Health initiative and global experts on CRVS. The toolkit carefully guides the legal team conducting the legal review through an analysis of the country's laws and regulations by providing a framework and methodology to analyze and compare those existing laws against international best practice. Best practices are drawn from the main UN publications on CRVS, and those are the UN Principles and Recommendations for a Vital Statistics System, the UN Guidelines on a Legislative Framework for Civil Registration, Vital Statistics, and Identity Management, and the Handbook on Civil Registration and Vital Statistics Management, Operations, and Maintenance. The toolkit consists of 11 chapters, and it's customizable so that stakeholders can use and complete only those chapters that are relevant and of interest to them. So for Sri Lanka, the CRVS Coordination Committee determined that the legal review should focus on registration of birth, death, and stillbirth, certification of cause of death, the production of vital statistics, the medical legal death investigation system as it relates to registration of deaths and certification of cause of deaths. And also the legal team completed the introductory core chapters that involve the structure of the CRVS system and the enabling environment of the CRVS system. Each chapter of the toolkit discusses some key topics and concisely summarizes those international best practices. It then poses a series of questions to guide the legal team in a step-by-step process in reviewing existing laws and identifying where they do and do not align with international best practice. So the steps in the legal review process for Sri Lanka have consisted of 5 key steps. The first was to identify and hire the legal team. And Mr. Araj De Silva was brought on board in February 2020, and his legal team completed a 2-day legal training on CRVS and the use of the toolkit. The next step was the legal review launch workshop, bringing together all of the key stakeholders. And many of you may have attended that workshop back in February of 2020. The team then began the legal review itself using the toolkit in March of 2020, which, as you may remember, was right about the time the pandemic broke out. But despite COVID restrictions, with the strong support of you, the stakeholders, particularly the Ministry of Health and the Registrar General's Department and the Department of Census and Statistics, the team was able to complete their research by the end of 2020, and then began the substantial task of drafting the very comprehensive report that's before you today. And that brings us to today, the launch of the recommendations report. And I hope you all have a chance to read and digest the report, because following this launch, we hope that you, the stakeholders, will come together in a workshop to discuss the recommendations in depth and determine what steps you would like to take to improve and strengthen the CRVS legal framework. I'd like to say thank you for all your support during this process, particularly to Dr. Sumatunga and to Rangana and Maya for their strong support, and to congratulate Mr. Araj De Silva and the rest of his legal team for their dedication and hard work throughout this process. Thank you all.
Thank you, Ms. Zinn. Next, we have Ms. Martin Rashid joining us virtually, and he's the Technical Director of CRVS Improvement and Vital Strategies.
Thank you. Thank you very much for passing me the floor. I hope you can hear me all right. Honorable Minister, dear Dr. Samatunga, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for the opportunity to be able to talk here briefly. My name is Martin Bracci. I'm the Technical Director for CRVS at Vital Strategies. First, I would like to congratulate you for this great event and very important event. And thank you, as my colleague Joan Thomas has already mentioned, thank you very much for the opportunity to be able to participate in this event and to speak to you briefly today. And I will just make very, very brief remarks. First of all, I would like to say that the activities you have carried out through the analysis and review of the CRVS legal framework and the way you are paving forward for the strengthening of that CRVS legal framework is very, very important. And again, congratulations on taking that step. The CRVS legal framework provides the foundation for the CRVS system. As such, the legal framework can both pose barriers and include enablers to the full functioning of the CRVS system. And it is therefore very important to closely review and, if necessary, update the CRVS legal framework to ensure that everyone has access to civil registration and to ensure that the civil registration and vital statistics system can function to its full capacity as you would like it to in Sri Lanka. I would also like to emphasize your leadership in combining the legal review effort with other CRVS system strengthening activities. And I just want to point out 3 of those activities, which I think it is these activities together that are really a great way forward for the strengthening of the system. The first such activity that is complementary, very much complementary to the legal review activity, is the review and revision of business processes in the civil registration system For example, for the collection and processing of cause of death information. Of course, these business processes are built on the legal framework, all the laws and regulations and rules. So it's very much interlinked, and it's important that you are carrying out these activities at the same time. I think also as a second activity, all the work you have ongoing to strengthen the capacities of medical professionals to collect high quality cause of death information is really very, very important. This, of course, provides the key ingredient for good quality and better cause of death data. And finally, as a point that I would like to stress is the work that you have done on building and maintaining governance structures to ensure the full functioning of the CRVS system. These are governance structures at the national level, ranging across the full CRVS system, as well as governance structures that are specific for more work on mortality data, and then also governance structures at the subnational and even at the hospital level. I very much believe that these coordinated effort and the synergies between these activities are a great approach to the strengthening of the CRVS system. And it's really great to see how this work is progressing. And we're very happy as the Data for Health initiative to be part of these activities. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Martin University. Now, next, ladies and gentlemen, to brief you all on the key recommendations of CRVS Legal Review Sri Lanka, let me cordially invite to the stage from the Legal Analysis and Drafting Team of this publication, Mr. Erash De Silva, Attorney at Law, Lead in Legal Analysis and Drafting.
Honorable Attorney General, Honorable Solicitor General, Honorable Minister, Additional Secretary Dr. Somatunga, Lynn, Joan, and all those joining us on virtual platform, ladies and gentlemen. I have a minute to speak about a summary of the legal recommendations we have brought about in this report, the depth and meat and discussion of which is in the publication that will be launched today. I have about 10 minutes and I have 10 slides. The first four which set the background, and the last 6 set out some of the recommendations. As a matter of background, what we did here in this legal review was really analyzed the law in this area, which is found in the Births and Deaths Registration Act of 1951. 70-year-old piece of legislation, which has, of course, gone through amendments, but we analyzed it and compare that with the practice on the ground, which we gathered from various interviews coordinated by the Ministry of Health, Dr. Somatunga, Dr. Rangana, and Dr. Maya, with the various stakeholders, registered in this department, members of the DSU, Chief JMO, JMOs, and various stakeholders. And compare that against the UN best practices, which again, as Lynn said, was taken from the United Nations Principles and Recommendations for Biostatistics System, Revision 3, which was drafted by Lynn herself, and she ably assisted and guided us in this step of the way, and she is really an expert in the true sense of the word. So that's what we did. Coming to the objective again of CRVS, I like to use ultimately one of the key objectives is really to enable informed policy making for people like the Minister and so on, to the Attorney General to involve policy. And I like to use the example, as we have done in the report, of schools and soil. So when it comes to schools, if we know how many male children are born, for example, in Chalkache or can be in real time in this particular year, we can make provision or we might know in another 5 years that we need this amount of schools for the area. So it enables effective policy making. Dr. Lakshmi's famous example of soil. If we know how many people die of strokes in Sri Lanka today, that might enable us to take policy decisions, informed policy decisions, to educate people on the consumption of soil, for example, and reduce them. So CRVS ultimately, the continuous, permanent, and compulsory universal recording of vital events and the generation of vital statistics enable effective policy making. Now, there are three caveats that I want to raise before we start the recommendations. Firstly, the solutions to this sort of information is not only legal. What we have done in this report is legal. There are other factors like resources and so on. But this report is principally focused on the legal framework. Secondly, law is not only hard law, but includes soft law, which can equally be as effective as hard law. Hard law means legislation and so on, and soft law can mean circulars and things like directions of the steering committee, which is very effectively coordinated across stakeholders, and is an effective way to do so. The third caveat is our constitutional framework of Sri Lanka, which is rather complex, particularly in the light of some of the amendments to the Constitution of 2013, where certain to effect legislative change, some things have to be done from the parliamentary level, some things at the provincial level. Hospitals, for example, the provincial hospitals, it's a devolved subject. Hospitals, which is important stakeholder here, principal legislation of parliament, as well as provincial legislation, and the private hospitals. There are provincial hospitals, line ministry hospitals, and the private sector is governed by a regime. So there are cross-regime law is rather complex to the constitutional framework. Now there are 5 scenarios that we came across when we compare the law with the practice on the ground, the best practice. Scenario 1 was where the VDRA and the practice on the ground, the best practice coincidence because of the perfect balance. There is no need for any recommendation for amendment in that scenario. We found also the practice on the ground and the best practice was out of sync with the law. In that instance, we recommended that the law be amended to reflect the practice on the ground and the best practice. Scenario 3, 4, and 5 are a little more problematic, and we have highlighted that in the report, that forums discussion, where these 3 are debates. And we have highlighted that in the discussion in the report. But it must be borne in mind sometimes that the best practice, though carefully thought through, may not necessarily work in some instances in the context of Sri Lanka. There are cultural differences. For example, we have highlighted in the report our ground level registrars. The UN recommendation is to have fixed officers, that is our ground level registrars, use their own homes, their own resources. But there are certain positives in that because they are reachable at different times of the night, and that enables funerals to happen the next day, which is not present in other parts of the world. How long this is, and there is a cultural prestige in being a registrar. How long we can sustain this in the future is a challenge, and we have highlighted that challenge in the report, particularly with the organization, going middle class, and so on. So, those are concerns that we have highlighted in the report. Now, when we come to the recommendations, firstly, updating the law. The BDRA, as I said, is 1951, becoming 70 years old. There are 3 major areas that we have identified. One is known as Part 5 areas. The other 2 are the icon. One is, first icon is that by state, that's the sun and tea bushes, and the next is the hospital. So when it comes to Part 5 areas, it is only Part 5 areas according to our present law that stillbirths, for example, have to be registered. Now, this goes against the UN principle that stillbirth registration must be universal. And it is also out of sync with the practice on the ground, particularly where hospitals are concerned, where in whichever hospital stillbirth occurs, there's a direction of the Division of Health Services to report that and register. So the law here is out of sync with the practice on the ground and best practices. So irrespective of this Part 5 areas, we have recommended that stillbirths, for example, be registered universally. The question of estates is also another interesting one. In the 1950s, perhaps because of our plantation economy, it perhaps was thought fit by the architects of the DDR to draw a distinction between estates and non-estates, registration on estates and registration on non-estates. And that perhaps was because there were migrant workers and in work conditions. It was thought fit by the architects of the DDR to draw a distinction and to enable the superintendent of the estate, or made by law, the superintendent of the estate, to be informed when it comes to births and deaths on estates, whereas in the community it will be the father of the estate, father, mother of the estate, and so on. Now, how relevant that distinction now between estates and non-estates is a question for discussion, particularly when the statistics that 99% of births and 47% of deaths happen in hospitals. So if they happen in hospitals, the question of the relevance of estates again might vary into significance, and it is noteworthy that the PDR law as presently constituted doesn't take into account the importance of hospitals, the important stakeholders, hospitals, the wider health sector, in the process of CRVS, particularly given the statistics. So that is a key area where we have made recommendations to incorporate the role played by hospitals and the wider health sector into the CRVS regime, and the law reflect. In fact, in practice, in terms of practice on the ground, hospitals and the wider health sector play a very important and significant role in practice. So why not give legal recognition? For example, for deaths, births, and stillbirths that occur in hospitals, it is in practice you need a form of the hospital in order to effect registration in practice. So that's not reflected in the law, which is a positive thing. We have recommended hospitals in the circumstances be made primary forms of births, deaths, and stillbirths. Also, for cause of death certification is a good point because medical practitioners there, and we have recommended that for the purpose of cause of death certification, the hospitals be used, particularly medical practitioners within them. When it comes to the wider health sector, the community practitioners, for the purpose of certification of cause of death. Now, from what we understand, there is non-uniformity in the certification process of cause of death, particularly in the community. Now, Dr. Samantha will tell us that in hospitals, it is the B33 form that is used, which largely resembles the best practice WHO format. But in the community and also in the MLDI, in particular the investigation sector, that form is not used. So we have recommended particularly the harmonization of all these forms, and that cause of death in all instances, in the community, in the MLDI and in hospitals, the standard form we use so that there is no uniformity here. We have also recommended the importance of the MLDI sector and the importance that the JMOs and other medical practitioners play within the scheme of the MLDI system. The members of the General Department will tell us that this is according to our criminal procedure code, we have a coroner system in terms of the law. But gradually on the ground, the JMOs and other medical practitioners have assumed a large significance in this whole process. So that is a good point, and we have recommended for CRVS that they perhaps saw, this is put to the stakeholders, again, that they need informants and they certify cause of death in all instances. Again, in line with the standard WHO form, which will be or should be used across the board. When it comes to the institutional framework, we have recommended, and I'm sharing some of the recommendations, that the Register Affairs Department handbook be updated with publication 1975, again around 50 years old. We have recommended regularizing the structure of the RGD and giving adequate power and law to the RGD for the purpose of making rules, practice, regulations which should be followed. And we have recommended stakeholder discussions again on the very important mid-level district register model. And as I mentioned before, the ground level register model, how sustainable in the future. And we have highlighted certain discussion points which relate to coverage, bottlenecks, and a legal framework that enables technology to be used so that more timely information can be available here. Now, as far as statistics is concerned, it is rather surprising, but there isn't a clear legal framework in relation to the generation of vital statistics in this area. Although the vital statistics unit, which is the unit of the Department of Statistics and Statistics, which sits in the Register Affairs Department in terms of practice on the ground, does a admirable job to generate this. So we have recommended a clear legal framework in this area, and that a structure be put in place and formal recognition be given to the BSU so that this will enable better funding allocation and so on. Finally, we have highlighted the importance of the steering committee, which is chaired by some of you. I recommended that that be given again recognition, more formal recognition to the ERA, so that cross-stakeholder, inter-stakeholder cooperation can be more meaningful. I'd like to thank you all again. Thanks to Dr. Somatunga, Dr. Nanda, Dr. Maya, Joel, very especially for guiding us, as I said, Mr. Kodwe, to all of you who cooperated in this matter and gave us valuable feedback, and also to my legal team. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Erasmus Silva. For the success of any program, the political commitment and leadership is of utmost importance. Ladies and gentlemen, let me formally invite our chief guest tonight, Honorable Minister of Health, Dr. K. to address this gathering.
Good evening to all of you. The Honorable Secretary General, Sanjay, Additional Secretary, Ashish, officials from the Ministry of Health, officials of the Ministry of Justice, Register General Department, officials of the Department of Census, the legal team who conducted the training, stakeholders of global health advocacy indicator, representative from vital strategies and data from health initiative, distinguished invitees, all who are joining on platforms virtually, ladies and gentlemen. I am very pleased, in fact, to be here to take part in this vital and important and timely. The term CRVS, which stands for Civil Registration and Vital Statistics, is very important for health policy. Civil registration is carried out primarily for the purpose of establishing the legal document provided by the public government. Sri Lanka has had a long history of civil registration dating back to over 300 years. As far as the Dutch period and the British regulations are said to have been promulgated, setting out a system of registration for births, deaths, and marriages in coastal areas. The Register General's Department is said to have been established in 1864, with the registration of births, deaths, and marriages bringing under its purview. There appears to have been several pieces of legislation enacted by the British which dealt with civil registration, which were precursors to the present Birth and Death Registration Act of 1951, which is the main piece of legislation at present in this subject area. The Birth and Death Registration Act of 1951 is approximately 70 years old. Although it has gone through several amendments, it is still not aligned with the practice on the ground and also not aligned with the United Nations perspective. The practices on the ground appears to have evolved over time in order to keep up with the current. It is also important to be aligned with the international best practices as well. A good legal and regulatory framework is essential for effective management, operating and maintenance of civil registration systems. In the absence of proper that obliges individuals to register births and deaths, and without clearly defining the roles and responsibilities of all stakeholders involved, a civil registration system cannot function. A well-designed registration form gives clear guidelines how the civil registration system works. It provides the rules needed to register vital records that affects the civil status of individual, defines the role of civil registration in the production of vital statistics and its relations with the institutions that rely on such data, and defines the services it should provide. It is a pleasure to witness health sector taking the lead role to this task with coordination action with the other relevant stakeholders. The subjects are overlapping. Therefore, this kind of collaborative work will deliver quality and comprehensive outcomes. While appreciating the hard work, I take this opportunity to thank all the stakeholders and contributors who came together to fulfill this timely. I'm confident that this publication will contribute greatly to improve the CRVS legislation of Sri Lanka, a comprehensive and effective system, which in turn will be a benefit for the health status of the people of Sri Lanka through political policies. Thank you. I must also make a note that I think attending something the I think the entire process of going through this, and as I see, I'm on the screen, and I just went through the script. Now I realized that I think it's a very comprehensive, complex situation where I think we may not be able to just launch a book and move forward. I think we need to have constant sort of looking at it and then moving forward towards bringing the registration. The reason that I know some of the registrations that are done by colonial time are still existent. Recently, I was telling her something with regard to excise law, which was, I think, 70 years old. So we need to know these areas, particularly that trying to work. There are more technical inputs that are required. So as to how you technical inputs and government to coincide with the law is another matter. I'm sure we'll have. handful of work in this regard. I wish you all the best and all the luck, and it's a good work, and it's finally, I think it's a necessity. That's no choice in this. It's a necessity that we move forward this. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Ladies and gentlemen, we have now reached the highlight of the launching of the publication, the legal review of civil registration and vital statistics system of Sri Lanka. I would like to cordially invite to the stage Dr. Lakshmi Somasundaram, Additional Secretary, Public Health Services, to come forward and do the honors of handing over the publication to our Chief Guest, Honorable Minister of Health, Dr. Kigali Ramaphosa. Dr. Lakshmi Somasundaram will be handing over the publication of legal review of civil registration and vital statistics system of Sri Lanka to the Ministry of Health, Dr. Kigali Ramaphosa. Now I would like to invite Honorable Minister of Health, Dr. Kigali Ramaphosa, to do the honors and hand over the publication to our dignitaries. Tonight, Attorney General, Honorable Sanjay Rajaratnam, Registrar General, Mr. WMMD Veerasekar, Director General of Department of Census and Statistics, Mr. Anurag Kumar, Solicitor General, Mrs. Indika Neni Silva, State Council, Amanti Pereira, Deputy Director General Planning, Minister of Health, Dr. S. Sridhar, the Chief Judicial Medical Officer Colombo, Dr. Ajit Hennakom, the Chairman National Authority of Tobacco and Alcohol, Dr. Samati Rajapaksa, Thank you, Honorable Minister. Thank you, Madam. As we have now drawn to the end of the evening, let me cordially invite Dr. Lanka from the Office of the Additional Secretary Public Health Services of the Ministry of Health to deliver the vote of thanks.
Chief Guest, Honorable K.D. Ramaphosa, Minister of Health, Honorable Sanjay Rajaratnam, Attorney General, Dr. Lakshmi Somasundaram, Additional Secretary Public Health Services, Ministry of Health, distinguished invitees from Ministry of Health, Registrar General's Department, Department of Census and Statistics, Attorney General's Department, and Ministry of Justice. representatives from Data for Health CRVS program Vital Strategies and Global Health Advocacy Incubator joining online today. Distinguished guests and ladies and gentlemen, I am honored to deliver the vote of thanks today as a medical officer in health informatics attached to the Office of Additional Secretary Public Health Services and also as one of the coordinators for this important project. Our chief guest, Honorable K.V. Raman, Minister of Health, and Honorable Sanjay Rajaratnam, Attorney General, sir, we highly value your presence today and it's a great encouragement for our work. CRVS legal review was an effort led by Dr. Lakshmi Soundunga, Additional Secretary for Public Health Services, with the consensus from National Steering Committee on Data for Public Health Policy. We are truly grateful for your leadership to make this effort a success. We extend our sincere gratitude to the editor, Liz Terasa, from Global Health Advocacy Incubator, and the legal team led by Mr. Raj Silva, who did the legal analysis and drafting of this book. Further, I thank my colleagues from Vital Strategies, Martin Rachi, John Thomas, and Romain Center for the collaboration extended to us to make this effort a success. The head of the institution who are present today, Registrar General, Director General of Department of Census and Statistics, we are highly value your cooperation. A special word of appreciation to all the contributors, including Dr. Ajit Tennepo, Chief Judicial Medical Officer from the Institute of Forensic Medicine and Toxicology, Colombo, Mrs. G.L. Galekola from the Registrar General's Department, Mr. K.S. R.L. Senaduga from the Department of Census and Statistics, Mr. S.S.K. Senaduga from the Registrar General's Department, Mrs. P.G. Nilini from the Registrar General's Department. Thank you very much for your contribution. I also thank my colleague Nimit Mayagaru for joining me to coordinate this event. I also thank Dr. Shashank for appearing today and accepting our invitation. Finally, I thank all the distinguished invitees who are present today and look forward for an excellent collaboration in the future. Last but not least, I thank the AV crew and also the hotel staff for their support. Thank you very much and have a good evening.
Thank you, Ramana. Ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to the end of the proceedings tonight. You're cordially invited to listen to that to be held outside this hall. We would like to stress that this event is held on strict COVID-19 guidelines. Therefore, you are kindly requested to adhere to the safety protocols set in place. Hope you have a great evening. Thank you and have a very good night.